So Nvidia finally announced a new product that they're working on, and as much as I was hoping that it was about manufacturing consumer-based GeForce RTX products, for GPUs and stuff, and other products that we can use to counter the RAM and GPU AI epidemic in 2026, Nvidia just proved that they care less about their consumers than they do with their AI company partners in the OpenAI circle. In fact, they leaned in so much to AI that they made a product with the base functionality of destroying the originality of the game's art styles. That is right, guys. Some of you have already known what I'm talking about. I am talking about none other than NVIDIA's new DLSS 5.0. That is not to compare it with the previous DLSS versions, because the previous DLSS versions are 100 times better. And the OG DLSS shows the correct way to use AI in our day and age, and that is using it as a tool to help with human related tasks that we find to be exhausting and a waste of time, rather than acting like a replacement to real human coders and artists and all the other fields that real humans take. For those of you who are still lost with the DLSS 5 situation, which is planning to replace human artists, let me explain from the top. Starting things off with talking about resolution upscalers as a whole. So we all know how heavy graphical applications and games can sometimes be, mostly reaching about 100 gigabytes in size and more with modern AAA games, and reaching at an all-time high of 700 gigabytes with the new GTA 6 coming soon. And sometimes your PC or console can't run those games at full resolution. In this day and age, people would rather, run games at either 1080p at minimum or full 4K, which is, the modern resolution. Some people might run it at 8K. I don't know. Those are resolution obsessed people, I guess. But yeah, you can't run all of those games at full 4K resolution due to the demanding hardware that those games need that your device sometimes can't provide. This is where standard upscaling technology comes in to save the day, adding in more pixels and frames to games running in low quality performance. So if you have a game that can run at a maximum of 540p or 720p at 30 FPS at max, upscaler technologies can increase the quality and performance of those games to maybe 10 or 1440p or maybe even 4K, and sometimes double in the frames per second performance, or just makes the frame generation look a lot smoother. It had a rough start due to a lot of factors, including blurriness in some of the added pixels and frames of the upscaling tech. Because if you compare a game that runs at 4K natively, I mean, good luck with finding a $3,000 to $4,000 PC with that heavy hardware that could do that. Anyways, if you compare that type of PC that runs 4K natively with a game that uses upscaling technology to play at 4K, not natively, but rather using upscaling technology, then you get to notice some blurriness in some of the pixels, and eventually the game without upscaling technology wins. But thanks to Nvidia's DLSS technology, this blurriness in pixels isn't a really big problem anymore. So what does DLSS stand for? Well, it stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling. And deep learning is usually an AI term that is used for high-level AI that goes beyond machine learning. So Nvidia had a rough start using their DLSS, for the first two versions. There was still a lot of blurriness and all, even after using AI. Yeah, but they were able to perfect it on the release of the DLSS 3.1, as that's what Nintendo Switch 2 is using for its hardware. In fact, DLSS 3.1 or 3.5 helped generate ray tracing to games like Star Wars Outlaws on the Switch 2, which is something that is very difficult to implement on native quality games. Unless you have some very heavy hardware to do it natively. Now, back in 2025, third party studios had trouble utilizing the Switch 2 DLSS 3.1 to its fullest, releasing games that were running at 1080p at most with 30 to 40 frames per second. But now in 2026, they were able to perfect their development process as we now have games like Resident Evil Requiem or Pragmata being a primary example of this, running at a smooth 4K 60 FPS on dock mode and 1080p 60 FPS on handheld mode. And that's not me glazing the Switch 2, that is me glazing the DLSS. That is what the DLSS is doing. So, how about we compare the PS5 version of the game with the Switch 2 version of the game? So, as you can see, the PS5 version looks pretty solid and all, with all the textures and graphics and clean visuals. You agree with me, right? This is, the PS5 version of the game. Yeah, April Fools to that. This was actually the Switch 2 version of the game, looking the exact same as the PS5 version of the game. And it looks good despite the Switch 2's hardware capabilities being limited. Now, I understand that the PS5 is using an upscaler of its own, the PSSR 2.0, so it's not a fair comparison, which also uses AI for its upscaling technology. But here's the thing. The PSSR 2.0 is converting a 1440p internal resolution to 4K, while DLSS Lite, which is DLSS 3.1, on the Switch 2 is converting a 540p internal resolution to a 1080p on handheld and 4K on docked. Now, that doesn't compare to when games run at native 4K on PC at all, because despite all the blur not being visible, you still do notice a little ghosting on the games despite the clear visuals on the Switch 2, and that is basically because the AI is trying to predict some of those frames to delete some of the blurriness, so this is why you notice, some level of ghosting. But then again, who cares? Now, I have seen a lot of Nintendo YouTubers have enjoyed their Switch 2 even with AAA games, despite all those minor issues that some people online are making a big deal of. We still had the same exact 4K experience with a cheaper $450 hardware as we did with a $2,000 GPU hardware. The visual looks 90% similar to that of native 4K visuals, better than what we had with previous upscaling technology with less than 25% of the PC cost. And as much as I am a Switch 2 fan, this isn't me trying to glaze the Switch 2 again. I'm trying to highlight how AI upscaling of the DLSS of our generation has gone so far to better our experience with gaming, especially with DLSS till the 4.5 version, because it did its job in upscaling the game resolution and frame rate, bettering the gameplay experience without harming human jobs or hard work and destroying the content originality. That was until DLSS 5.0 came along. The DLSS that we didn't need, and the DLSS whose official job is to apply better shadowing to games, but what it really does is that it restructures, aka replaces, the visual game art styles in order to apply those better shadowings. And to be honest, I really, really wish that the art applied to those games are original, but unfortunately, the art style and visuals are completely AI generated. Previous DLSS versions were dead set on using AI for their upscaling, but at least they preserved the originality of the visuals of the gameplay, which is the complete opposite of what DLSS 5 is doing to its games. I mean, I get it. People love more realistic games and all, but I think we all agree that we're already aware that realistic games isn't what makes games so eye-catching. Because if you try to play a more realistic Mario game or a more realistic Astrobot game, two of the iconic characters of their own consoles, it doesn't look as good as it does when playing the originals. And those are just some examples of how those types of games won't fit with DLSS 5. Even realistic looking AAA games look worse with DLSS 5 than they do without it. It doesn't look like you're playing the same game anymore, therefore, ruining your mood in every turn of the game. Now it's just a problem to gamers, as game devs have been protesting to this as well. I mean, obviously, because they worked so hard on the art of their games, and it's all just being replaced with AI generated art, rendering it useless in the grand scheme of the game. Now, I want to make it clear. I don't support AI that replaces human work and human lives, but that doesn't mean I'm similar to the people online that see something that is made with AI and immediately call it slop, because we have all seen how AI can destroy as much as it can help our lives. ChatGPT was the best thing that happened to us as a society because we were all able to research global information at a faster pace than we did before. Then came in AI assistants to help with our daily tasks, AI schedulers to help schedule our times, AI voice recognition captioning to caption our conversations on Zoom meetings, and auto captioning YouTube videos as well. I guess that's using AI to caption my videos as well. You can even turn on the captions on YouTube to see for yourself. Those are some of the example of helpful AI that can autocomplete daily human scut work. And AI image generation started innocent too. That was until people used it in the wrong ways, with people trying to sell fake arts and spamming AI brain rot all over social media. And it got bigger with AI fake image generations, AI fake video generations, deep fakes, AI slop game generations, AI ads that promise you the world when they are just trying to steal your money, and they succeed sometimes, and even AI programming that can apparently make you measly websites, but of course you won't know how to deploy, let alone maintain that website, because you're a complete amateur that doesn't even know how to write a single line of code. And again, like every AI ad you see on the internet, you just got scammed out of your pockets here. Those are some of the many examples of the AIs that can destroy our society. And I don't support those types of AIs. I don't support that at all. This is completely different to the vision that AI researchers had for this era, and DLSS, along with all the other slops that I mentioned, are mentally destroying our society as a whole, especially with gaming. So this is all that is currently going on with DLSS 5.0, and I would like to hear some of your opinions about it in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe the video. Make sure you like the video if you loved what you saw. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and make sure to share it, to some of your PC fan friends. I would really appreciate it. But now, without further ado, thank you very much, guys, for watching again, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Peace!